Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Stalemate continues in US government shutdown after Democrats stand firm on healthcare demands. Trump doubles down on mass firing threats. Democrats warn such move would not stand up to legal scrutiny. India condemns the terror attack on Manchester synagogue after the terror incident leaves 2 dead. External Affairs Ministry says terror on the International Day of Non-Violence saddening. President Vladimir Putin says global economy can't function without Russian oil, warns that prices would jump to over $100 per barrel if its supplies were cut off. Vows response to European threats as tensions flare. And in sports, India's Mirabai Chanu clinches a silver at World Weightlifting Championships in Norway and 3-year wait for medal in the competition. Stalemate continues in US government shutdown after Democrats stand firm on healthcare demands. US President Donald Trump warned that federal workers could be fired and projects cut if a government shutdown continues. In an interview to US News Channel, Trump said has threatened mass layoffs and proposed to make irreversible changes to important democratic programs.
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault, and it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place, and I will probably do that.
Taking the government shutdown as an opportunity, Trump is looking to reshape the federal workforce and punish detractors. Trump posted on social media saying he's focusing on which Democrat agencies can be slashed. US government layoffs could be in thousands, White House spokeswoman Karoline Leavitt said on Thursday as the federal government began the second day of a shutdown. The government shutdown has suspended scientific research, financial oversight, economic data reports and a wide range of other activities. Some 750,000 federal workers have been ordered not to work, while others such as troops and border patrol agents are ordered to work without pay.
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands. It's a very good question, and that's something that the Office of Management and Budget and the entire team at the White House here, again, is unfortunately having to work on today. These discussions and these conversations, these meetings would not be happening if the Democrats had voted to keep the government open.
Now, Senate Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and his House counterpart Hakeem Jeffries have dismissed the job cut threats as an attempt at intimidation and said mass firings would not stand up in court. Talking to media, Jeffries said that Democrats are open to talks but need credible partners.
This is day 2 of Donald Trump's shutdown, but it's day 256 of the chaos that the Trump presidency has unleashed on the American people. Republicans have shut the government down because they don't want to provide health care to working class Americans. House Democrats continue to be here on duty. House Republicans are on vacation. We are ready, we are willing, we are able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, including the president and the vice president, to try to find a path forward to reopen the government, enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people while at the same time addressing the Republican health care crisis.
The shutdown began on Wednesday after Republicans and Democrats in Congress failed to agree a new spending plan. This is the first government shutdown in almost 7 years. The government shutdown, the 15th since 1981, has led to the suspension of scientific research, economic data reports and a wide range of other activities. Meanwhile, Speaker Mike Johnson closed the door on House Republicans entering discussions to alter the short-term spending deal passed by the House in mid-September, stating the bill's passage and the consequences, if it doesn't, are 100% the fault of Democrats.
People say, why aren't you negotiating with Schumer and Jeffries? Because I quite literally have nothing to negotiate. There's nothing I can pull out of the bill that was a Republican priority to say, oh, we won't do that. Why don't you guys vote for it now? I don't have anything. I didn't put anything in it to send it over. I'm stunned. I'm stunned that they have decided to shut the government down and hurt people. It is on them 100%.
All right, we'll go across to DD India's Akshay Dongre. He's joining us live with more information. Good morning, Akshay. What is the latest on the deadlock over the government shutdown and how firmly are the Democrats standing on the healthcare issue?
Well, there are multiple, new aspects to this entire tussle that has come to fore, Abhishek. First of all is, Donald Trump himself saying that there may be an opportunity to remove deadwood fraud and save billions of dollars by using this opportunity of the shutdown. So what essentially he's saying is that the departments that according to him are not priority, and the people wherever people are in these departments, people are getting fired, it's good for the economy in the longer term. Which means that he's trying to turn this thing around into stating, or rather into utilizing this opportunity into firing the people he did not like, the departments he thought were irrelevant, or the expenditure of the government of the US that he thought was a waste. So he seems to have in fact stated this quite openly in front of the world. And this may also be a message to the Democrats that even if you, force the government into a shutdown, or rather, even if you don't, vote with them, they are going to use this opportunity somehow to sort of, go after the people that they think should not have been there in the first place. That is first. Then we are seeing the Democrats are now scrambling to also, go out in front of the people, stating that they are not, responsible for the shutdown. It's the government's attitude, and in a manner of stating about the duties of the government. The government is responsible for creating a sort of agreement between the two parties to end this shutdown. However, this seems to be deepening. So if the rift widens, and we have not seen this bipartisan rift so much in several decades in the US, and if this rift widens, if this continues, then we are looking at quite uncertain times, which may impact the US economy quite adversely.
Right, but is there any indication of possible compromise or maybe negotiations resuming between the two sides?
Well, I don't think so, because like I mentioned, Abhishek, the rift is quite wide. With the kind of provocative statements that are coming in from the US president himself, and the Democrats making their last stand. They don't have a majority in the Congress. They don't have a majority in Senate. And what they have is they can go in front of the people, and then they can they can say that the government is in shutdown. There are certain basic amenities that they are demanding, and the government has to agree something when it comes to demands of the opposition as well. But that doesn't seem to be happening, and that's why perhaps it seems that this shutdown may become quite an unprecedented one.
But Akshay, what kind of political risk does this pose for the president if the standoff with the Democrats continues?
Well, if the people get fired, the social systems shut down because of the lack of funding and lack of agreement between these two, then both Democrats and the Republicans are going to have some sort of impact as far as their ratings are concerned. But more importantly, this shutdown and the kind of if it leads to a larger economic debacle in the US, then the responsibility will be pinned on the US president ultimately, because he heads the government. It's his government, and Republicans are honestly responsible for running the House, both the Congress and the Senate.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. In the latest in the terrorist attack at British synagogue, police said on Thursday that the suspect in the deadly attack outside a synagogue in Manchester in northern England was believed to be Jihad al-Shami, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. Al-Shami was shot dead by armed officers after ramming a car into pedestrians and stabbing at least one person near a synagogue during Yom Kippur. The police added that 3 suspects, 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s, were currently in custody and have been arrested on suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. A suspicious device worn by the attacker during the incident has been assessed and was deemed not be viable. 2 men were pronounced dead following the incident and 3 other men remain in hospital with serious injuries. Police investigation continues to understand the motivation behind the attack as the investigation continues. Meanwhile, security has been tightened around synagogues in the Los Angeles area on Thursday as worshippers marked Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Jewish calendar. Police would increase patrols around synagogues and Jewish community centers across Los Angeles in advance of the Jewish high holy days. There would be increased visibility in neighborhoods, synagogues, schools and community centers to deter crime and provide reassurance.
2 people were killed Thursday and 3 badly wounded outside a packed synagogue in Manchester in a car and stabbing attack. City's forces said that the suspect shot by police in Manchester synagogue attack has died. Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the attack as horrific.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan said policing would be increased around synagogues in the capital.
We've seen this awful attack on a synagogue in Manchester. I've been in contact with the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, with the Home Secretary and with the police. The Met Police Service will be stepping up high visibility policing in and around synagogues in London.
And based on what we know, counter-terrorism policing has declared this as a terrorist incident. Our specialist teams are now leading the investigation into what happened at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue and working closely with Greater Manchester Police. As we do this, those who have been killed and injured are at the forefront of our minds.
The Israeli embassy in London condemned the attack, calling the act abhorrent and deeply distressing in a social media post. While EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas condemned the attack, she wrote on X, "The deliberate attack in Manchester against innocent worshippers at a synagogue on Yom Kippur is utterly appalling. Hate, anti-Semitism and violence have no place in our society. My thoughts are with the families and friends of victims and the Jewish community today." Scotland's First Minister John Swinney expressed his horror after the fatal attack at a synagogue in Manchester. John Swinney wrote on X, "Horrified by the attack on a synagogue in Manchester on Yom Kippur, the holiest time in the Jewish calendar, my thoughts are with victims, their families and all Jewish communities. Anti-Semitism is an evil we must confront and stand resolutely against." As the Jewish community marked the holiday of Yom Kippur in the northwestern city, police were called to the incident, activating a national terrorism response protocol. Bureau Report, DD India.
And India on Thursday condemned the deadly attack on a synagogue in Britain's Manchester and said it is yet another grim reminder of the challenge the world is facing from the evil forces of terrorism. MEA spokesperson Randeep Jaiswal took to social media X and said, and I quote him here, "We condemn the terror attack on the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester during Yom Kippur services today. It is particularly saddening that this heinous act was committed on the International Day of Non-Violence. This attack is yet another grim reminder of the challenge we face from the evil forces of terrorism, which the global community must combat and defeat through united and concerted action. He said India's thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families and the city of Manchester. India stands in solidarity with the people of the United Kingdom in this moment of grief, unquote. Now, UN Secretary General has strongly condemned the deadly terrorist attack in Manchester. Deputy spokesperson Farhan Haq at UN headquarters expressed concern of the alarming rise in anti-Semitism worldwide and stressed the urgent need to confront hatred and intolerance in all their forms.
The Secretary-General strongly condemns today's deadly terrorist attack on a synagogue in Manchester, in the United Kingdom. Houses of worship are sacred places where people can go to find peace. Targeting a synagogue on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, is particularly heinous. The Secretary-General extends his deepest condolences to the victims and their families and wishes a swift recovery to the injured. He stands in solidarity with the Jewish community and calls for those responsible to be brought to justice. The Secretary-General is deeply concerned by the alarming rise in anti-Semitism worldwide and stresses the urgent need to confront hatred and intolerance in all their forms.
Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin hails Prime Minister Modi's leadership, calls him a wise leader. UK's Prince William opens up about family fears and plans to change monarchy. And 8 dead as protests rock Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Welcome back. You're watching the India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Britain is building sensors to counter lasers that adversaries might use to blind satellites or intercept and interrupt communications. The UK government said it will spend more than $672,750 on the project, which involves UK Space Command and the UK Space Agency. A UK government-commissioned security review published this summer said Britain urgently needs to bolster defences for military space systems as adversaries improve their own abilities to attack in space. The Strategic Defence Review called for Britain to invest in its own space capabilities, along with intelligence and navigation networks, as well as satellite communications. As militaries depend on satellites for communication, surveillance and guidance data for troops, warships and weapons. Shifting focus now, Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that the global economy would suffer without Russian oil. He was speaking at the Valdai Discussion Club, a Russian think tank and discussion forum at Sochi in southern Russia. The statement came as US President Donald Trump has urged other nations to stop buying Russian oil in order to reduce Moscow's ability to fund its war in Ukraine. Putin warned that prices would jump to over $100 per barrel if its supplies were cut off.
Whatever happens, I am convinced that the global sector will be working in a sustainable way because the global economy is growing. The demand in primary energy sources such as uranium for nuclear power stations, oil, gas, coal will be increasing. And that means global markets will in any case be consuming these energy resources.
Russian president said that Moscow's forces were advancing on multiple fronts in Ukraine and brushed off a comment from US President Donald Trump describing Russia as a paper tiger.
As for the paper tiger thing, I have already told you that Russia has been fighting not with Ukraine and the Ukrainian armed forces, but with all the NATO countries for all these years. Our troops are advancing almost across the entire front. In the north, the group north of the Russian armed forces, the village of Yunakivka in the Sumy region has just been taken under our control, and a half of the town of Vovchansk in the Kharkiv region has been captured. I think it is a matter of time. Our soldiers will take the second half. We are creating there a security zone.
Putin also promised a significant response to Europe's militarization. Relations between Russia and the EU spiraled downward after Moscow sent troops into Ukraine, leading the bloc to bolster its defense. Drone incidents in Denmark and aerial incursions from Moscow in Estonia and Poland have heightened fears that Russia's war against Ukraine could spill over Europe's borders. Putin accused Europe of stoking hysteria to excuse rising military spending and said Russia did not pose a threat. And commenting on potential supplies of US long-range missiles Tomahawk to Ukraine, Putin warned this would worsen already battered relations between Moscow and Washington.
It's dangerous. As for tomahawks, they are powerful weapon. Granted, they are not exactly modern anymore, but they are powerful and pose a threat. And of course, this won't change the balance of power on the battlefield at all.
President Putin condemned France's detention of a Russian-linked ship as piracy, vowing a significant response to what he called European threats as tensions fled. The Russian leader's warning came after the French Navy on Saturday detained and boarded an oil tanker that has been blacklisted by the European Union for being part of Russia's sanction-busting shadow fleet. At this stage, the vessel is only being investigated over inconsistencies in where it was officially registered.
This is piracy. I am familiar with this case. The tanker was seized in international waters without any justification, and they were apparently searching for some kind of cargo, maybe military equipment, drones, or something similar. There's nothing there, and there never was, and there can't be. And the tanker is indeed flying the flag of a third country, and the crew is international.
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday hailed Prime Minister Modi's leadership, calling him a wise leader. Speaking at the plenary session of the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi, Putin mentioned that India and Russia both share a special relationship. Putin, as quoted by Russia Today, said people in India do not forget about India-Russia relations. He added that some 15 years ago, both nations made an announcement about a privileged strategic partnership, and that is the best description. Now, Germany's Munich airport halted flights after several drone sightings on Friday. 17 flights departing Munich were cancelled, affecting nearly 3,000 passengers, and 15 flights due to land were diverted to other cities. Another 15 arriving flights were diverted to Stuttgart, Nuremberg, Vienna and Frankfurt. This incident marks the latest drone disruption to European aviation after sightings temporarily shut airports in Denmark and Norway last week. The city was already placed on edge this week when its popular Oktoberfest was closed temporarily due to a bomb threat and the discovery of explosive in a residential building in the north of the city. Now, the New Zealand government have announced on changing defence procurement rules and introducing a new military technology fund in an effort to boost the local defence sector as government spending is set to increase. The New Zealand government said earlier this year it would boost defence spending by $5 billion over the next 4 years, and the aim to nearly double spending to 2% as a share of gross domestic product in the next 8 years due to growing concerns about strategic competition. The government will introduce a new $58.15 million to $174.45 million fund to develop advanced technologies for military use by the Defence Force. The strategy also includes plans to present a new defence capability plan every 2 years, with the next plan due in 2027. Now, UK's Prince William opens up about family fears and plans to change monarchy. Prince said protecting his family was the most important matter for him following the illnesses of his wife Kate and father King Charles, while revealing he will seek to modernize the monarchy when he becomes sovereign. Speaking on Canadian actor's travel show, Prince William said he sometimes felt a bit overwhelmed by the family matters and vowed to keep his children safe from any excessive intrusion from the media. The unusually candid remarks from William reveals a deeply personal commitment to both his family's well-being and the future of the monarchy. Now, the Eisenhower Presidential Library's director has exited his position after advocating against giving him a sword from the collection to King Charles as a gift during Donald Trump's recent state visit. Todd Arrington left his post on Monday after being told to resign or be fired. The library and museum, located in former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower's hometown in Abilene, Kansas, is part of the National Archives and Records Administration. Arrington allegedly resisted a request from the Trump administration to give one of Eisenhower's swords to Charles, which was meant to symbolize the US-UK relationship and highlight the two countries' collaboration in World War II. The Trump administration ultimately gave Charles a replica sword donated by West Point, the Army Academy where Eisenhower began his military career. Moving further, protesters marched in Karachi on Thursday following a spate of violence in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir region. Demonstrators from Awami Action Committee took to the streets calling upon the government to accept their demands. At least 8 people have been killed in 4 days of violent protest in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Authorities have since cut off phone links and internet access to the region. Violent clashes between demonstrators and police have not abated since the protest began on Monday. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Hundreds of olive Ridley sea turtle hatchlings were released at Alhio beach in Guatemala. These turtles were bred in captivity to help protect these species. Last year, 230,000 hatchlings were released. Officials say this year the number could double. A statue of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein holding hands has reappeared near the U.S. Capitol. It was first placed on September 23rd and removed a day later. The anonymous artist called it Best Friends Forever. A plaque links it to Friendship Month. Luxembourg is set to welcome a new Grand Duke, Guillaume, as his father Henry steps down after 25 years. The country is preparing for grand celebrations. Locals say they are excited about the royal change and hopeful for the future. And hundreds of Taylor Swift fans lined up for hours at a pop-up event in New York. They came to celebrate the release of a new album, Life of a Showgirl. Fans say she has a big influence and spreads love to everyone. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India and China to resume direct air services by the end of October. Celebrating 11 years of Prime Minister Modi's monthly radio program, Mann Ki Baat. And North India's 4 holy shrines in Uttarakhand set for ceremonial winter closure in October to November.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. Arey, it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Stalemate continues in US government shutdown after Democrats stand firm on healthcare demands. Trump doubles down on mass firing threats. Democrats warn such move would not stand up to legal scrutiny. India condemns the terror attack on Manchester synagogue after the terror incident leaves 2 dead. External Affairs Ministry says terror on the International Day of Non-Violence saddening. President Vladimir Putin says global economy can't function without Russian oil, warns that prices would jump to over $100 per barrel if its supplies were cut off, vows response to European threats as tensions flare. And in sports, India's Mirabai Chanu clinches a silver at World Weightlifting Championships in Norway, ends 3-year wait for medal in the competition. India and China will resume direct air services by the end of October, aligning with the winter schedule. The civil aviation authorities of the two countries have been engaged in discussions on resuming direct air services between the two countries and on a revised air services agreement. Following these discussions, it has now been agreed that direct air services connecting designated points in India and China can resume by late October. This agreement will facilitate people-to-people contacts between India and China, contributing to the gradual normalization of bilateral exchanges. Meanwhile, Indigo is set to reconnect India with mainland China starting October 26. The carrier will resume daily non-stop flights between Kolkata and Guangzhou. Indigo will deploy its Airbus A320 neo aircraft on the route with plans to launch a Delhi-Guangzhou service once approvals come through. The United Nations Security Council has approved travel ban exemptions for Afghanistan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi to visit India in October. The Foreign Minister of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, Amir Khan, is expected to visit India on 10th October after the United Nations Security Council approved an exemption to the travel ban imposed on the Taliban leader. A waiver was sought for Muttaqi's visit last month from 1988 Sanctions Committee under the UNSC. However, it was not granted due to lack of consensus amongst the members. Under Security Council Resolution 1988, certain individuals linked to the Taliban are subject to travel bans. However, the resolution allows the Council to grant exemptions for official duties or medical reasons. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program, Mann Ki Baat, completes 11 years. The program continues to inspire, educate and empower millions. Watch this special report by DD India's Tripti Tripathi.
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, नमस्कार।
Since its launch in October 2014, Mann Ki Baat has become a landmark platform for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to directly connect with the people of India.
बेंगलुरु से सिस्टर सुरेखा जी भी जुड़ी हुई।
I am really proud and honored, sir, to speak to Prime Minister of our country.
दिनेश जी नमस्कार।
सर जी प्रणाम।
Beginning on Vijayadashmi, the monthly broadcast has touched millions of lives. Every episode brings stories of inspiration from rural development and social reforms to unsung heroes shaping the nation. Over the years, the program, aired on All India Radio and Doordarshan, has gone beyond being just a broadcast. It recognizes collective efforts happening across society and gives them a national platform.
देश की बेटियां हर जगह अपना परचम लहरा रही है। दिलना और रूपा, आपसे मैं जानना चाहूंगा कि आपकी जो सागर परिक्रमा में आपका एक्सपीरियंस देश सुनना चाहता है।
से मेमोरेबल मोमेंट में बोलना चाहती हूँ सर कि हमने भारत की झंडा कॉइन नीमों पर लहराया सर।
What started as a simple radio program has transformed into a people's movement. Campaigns like Vocal for Local and Har Ghar Tiranga gained momentum after being featured on Mann Ki Baat. When the program completed its 100th episode in April 2023, Prime Minister Narendra Modi remarked that any issue raised here soon takes shape of a mass movement.
मेरे लिए मन की बात ये एक कार्यक्रम नहीं है, मेरे लिए एक आस्था, पूजा, व्रत है.
The show also reflects how India's cultural influence resonates globally.
आप दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में चले जाएं, वहां आपको भारतीय संस्कृति का प्रभाव देखने को जरूर मिलेगा. और ये प्रभाव केवल दुनिया के बड़े शहरों तक सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि इसे छोटे-छोटे शहरों में भी देखा जा सकता है. इटली के एक छोटे से शहर कैंप रोतोंडो में ऐसा ही देखने को मिला है. यहाँ महर्षि वाल्मीकि जी की प्रतिमा का अनावरण किया गया.
11 years on, Mann Ki Baat stands as a mirror to India's progress and diversity, uniting people through shared stories, fostering pride, and strengthening the spirit of collective purpose. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
A senior executive from semiconductor champion ASML praised Prime Minister Modi for his attentiveness to investors and willingness to listen. During Politico's Comparative Europe Summit in Brussels on Wednesday, ASML executive Frank Heemskerk criticized the EU for being inaccessible to European companies. He highlighted a recent 2-hour meeting between ASML's CEO and the Indian Prime Minister. Heemskerk said, and I quote, "After an hour and a half of listening, Prime Minister Modi said, 'You're too friendly, tell me what we can do better.'" Heemskerk urged EU leaders to engage more directly with companies investing in Europe's future, emphasizing the importance of strong public-private dialogue. The electronics component manufacturing scheme announced by the Indian government has seen an overwhelming response, significantly exceeding its initial targets. This was announced at a press briefing by the IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav in New Delhi on Thursday. The scheme has been introduced by the Modi government to boost domestic electronics manufacturing and make India a global giant in electronics. DD India's Vishal Baristo reports.
The Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme, ECMS, has seen an overwhelming response. The scheme has attracted investment applications worth over 1.15 lakh crore rupees, approximately $13.8 billion US, which is nearly double the initial target of 59,350 crore rupees. The projected production outcome from the applications is over 10.34 lakh crore rupees compared to a target of 4.5 lakh crore rupees.
Very ambitious target we had taken of 59,350 crore rupees investment. We have received applications for 1,15,351 crore against a production target of 4,56,500 crore, 4.5 lakh crore. We have received production estimates more than 10 lakh crore, 10,34,000 crore. So that is more than double what we had targeted.
Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme was officially notified on April 8, 2025. The guidelines and online portal were launched on April 26, with the application window opening on May 1 this year. The scheme is also expected to generate 1.41 lakh jobs, well above the initial target of 91,600 jobs.
Employment, we had targeted 91,600 persons. Here the employment which is expected is 1.5 times at 1,41,000 persons employment.
For the first time, India is set to see investments in advanced areas like SMD passives, laminates, flexible PCBs, anodes, and capital equipment. The application window for most products has closed, but the segment for capital equipment remains open for fresh applications until April 2027. Vishal Baristo's report for DD India.
Now, in a tragic incident in central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, at least 11 people, including children, died after a tractor trolley carrying 14 devotees fell off a small bridge into the river in Khandwa district on Thursday. The devotees were returning from Durga idol immersion when the accident occurred. Rescue efforts were launched immediately after the accident, with police, administrative officials and locals rushing to the site. A JCB machine was deployed to pull the trolley out. Prime Minister Modi expressed grief over the incident and announced financial assistance for the kin of the deceased. In a condolence message on social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi said he was deeply saddened by the loss of lives. The Prime Minister announced an ex gratia of 200,000 rupees from PMNRF would be given to the next of kin of each deceased. The injured would be given rupees 50,000. MP Chief Minister Yadav also expressed grief over the incident and announced ex gratia of 400,000 rupees each for the families of the deceased. And the date for the ceremonial closure of the 4 holy shrines in North India's Uttarakhand was announced on the occasion of Vijay Dashmi. The portals of the Kedarnath shrine will be ceremoniously closed for the winter season on October 23rd this year, while Badrinath shrine will be closed for the winter in November. According to the official announcement, the portals of Gangotri shrine will be closed for the winter on October 22nd, while the Yamunotri shrine will be closed on October 23rd. After the portals are closed, devotees will be able to offer prayers at Mukhwa for Gangotri and Kharsali for Yamunotri for the next 6 months. Meanwhile, the Char Dham Yatra is continuing with great enthusiasm in its final phase. Since April 30th this year, more than 4.5 million devotees have visited the Char Dham shrines. A violent clash broke out between 2 groups of students at Jawaharlal Nehru University campus on Friday during a Visarjan Shobha Yatra organized on the occasion of Vijay Dashmi following the 9-day Navratri celebrations. According to JNUSU Joint Secretary Vaibhav Meena, the Jawaharlal Nehru University Students' Union had called for a symbolic Ravan Dahan at Sabarmati, targeting what they described as Naxal-like forces. The ABVP alleged that left-wing students hurled stones and wooden blocks at the procession and physically assaulted a female participant. Let's now take a look at other stories making news today. In a major breakthrough against Maoist insurgency, 103 Maoists surrendered to Bijapur Police and Central Reserve Police Force in Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district on Thursday. Police recovered weapons worth over rupees 10 million. The crackdown is part of intensified counter-insurgency efforts in the Bastar region, which have significantly weakened Maoist networks. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh performed Shastra Puja at Bhuj military station on Vijay Dashmi on Thursday. He praised the Indian Armed Forces for Operation Sindoor and affirmed that the operation met all objectives without escalating conflict and reiterated India's firm stand against terrorism. The Mysuru Dussehra drone show on Thursday dazzled spectators as 2,983 drones formed a massive tiger image, earning a Guinness World Record for the largest aerial image. The show also featured vibrant drone formations of Hindu deities, blending cutting-edge technology with rich cultural motifs. The event became a standout moment of the Dussehra celebrations. A young girl named Sabri became the first Muslim girl to complete Kathakali studies at the prestigious Kerala Kala Mandalam Institute, making a historic debut performance. This milestone step followed more female admissions by Kala Mandalam Institute. This broke traditional barriers and promoted cultural change and greater diversity. Alright, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Boeing defense workers strike may last weeks or even months amid efforts to meet customer demands. And in Ahmedabad, Test India in commanding position against the West Indies. Details after the break. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. In the United States, Boeing is expecting a strike in its St. Louis area defense factories to continue for weeks or even months, but it is nonetheless meeting customer needs. The strike began August 4 and involves some 3,200 workers in the central U.S. states of Missouri and Illinois who are represented by the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Products produced at Boeing's St. Louis operation include the F-15 and F-18 combat aircraft, the T-7 Red Hawk advanced pilot training system and the MQ-25 unmanned aircraft. The site was originally part of the McDonnell Douglas company, which Boeing acquired in 1997. The strike comes on the heels of a much larger stoppage in Boeing's commercial aviation business involving some 33,000 workers. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with weightlifting. India's Mirabai Chanu clinched a silver in the women's 48 kg category at the World Weightlifting Championships in Norway. Mirabai Chanu managed a total of 199 kg in clean and jerk event to secure second place in Fourth City. Gold medal went to defending world champion Ri Song-gum of South Korea, while Thailand's Thanayathorn Sukcheron won the bronze medal. The win ended India's 3-year wait for a medal in the competition. And India added 2 more medals to their tally at the World Para-Athletics Championships in New Delhi, with Dharamveer Nayan clinching silver while Atul Kaushik securing bronze. 36-year-old Dharamveer produced his best on the final attempt, throwing 29.71 meter to seal silver in the men's club throw F51 event. Serbia's Alexander Radistic struck gold while Uladislav claimed bronze. Earlier, India's Atul Kaushik earned a bronze medal in the men's discus throw F57 class event with an effort of 45.61 meters. Libya's Mahmoud Rajab secured gold, while Brazil's Thiago Paulino dos Santos took silver. The results took India's overall tally to 11 medals, including 4 gold, 5 silver and 2 bronze medals. Shooting now, Tejaswini Singh won a silver medal in women's 25-meter pistol event as India capped off a successful week at Junior Shooting World Cup in New Delhi by topping the medals tally. Tejaswini Singh lost the final to Alexander Tikhonova, while Italy's Alessandra Fight completed the podium with bronze. In 25-meter pistol men individual event, junior world champion Mukesh Nelavali from India finished with gold. Alexander Kovalev took silver, while Sahil Chaudhary ensured another medal for India with bronze. India finished the tournament with 26 medals, including 8 gold, 10 silver and 8 bronze. The 11th edition of the competition and the first ever hosted in India featured 208 shooters from 19 federations. Cricket now. India will resume their innings at 121 runs for the loss of 2 wickets on the second day of the first test in Ahmedabad on Friday. Opener KL Rahul, unbeaten on 53, and captain Shubman Gill were at the crease when stumps were drawn on the first day, with India trailing by 41 runs. A depleted West Indies won the toss and opted to bat. India seamers Mohammad Siraj and Jasprit Bumrah ripped through the batting lineup to claim 7 wickets between them and dismiss the tourists for 162. In reply, Indian openers KL Rahul and Yashasvi Jaiswal made a solid start, adding 68 runs. But Jaiswal and Sai Sudarshan fell for 36 and 7 runs respectively. Now, opener Rubia Haider slammed half-century to lead Bangladesh to a 7-wicket victory over Pakistan in Women's ODI World Cup in Colombo. Bangladesh chased down the target of 133 with 113 balls to spare, with opener Haider top scoring with an unbeaten 54, while Shobna Mostari remained not out on 24. Pakistan's Dina Baig and other bowlers bowled economical spells but failed to stop Bangladesh batters. Earlier, Pakistan were all out for 129 after opting to bat first. Pakistan suffered a batting collapse with Ramin Shamim top scoring with 23, while Fatima Sana contributed 22. For Bangladesh, Shorna Akhtar took 3 wickets, while Marufa Akhtar and Nahida Akhtar got 2 wickets apiece. The comprehensive win highlighted Bangladesh's balance as a team with solid contributions in both batting and bowling. Namibia and Zimbabwe sealed their places at the 2026 T20 Cricket World Cup with victories in their respective semi-finals at the African qualifiers in Harare. Namibia eased to a 63-run victory over Tanzania thanks to an unbeaten 61 runs by J.J. Smith, who also returned with figures of 3 wickets for 16 runs in 4 overs with the ball. Zimbabwe made light work of a target of 123 to defeat Kenya by 7 wickets, with informed batter Brian Bennett smashing 51 runs from 25 deliveries. Namibia and Zimbabwe will meet in Saturday's final of the African qualifiers. 17 of the 20 places at the World Cup have been taken, with the 3 remaining teams to come from Asia-Pacific region qualifiers that start in Oman next week. The tournament is scheduled in February in India and Sri Lanka. Now, India celebrated Vijayadashmi or Dussehra on Thursday. The day also marked the culmination of Navratri and Durga Puja. The festival is celebrated to remember Lord Ram's victory over Ravan, marking the triumph of good over evil. President Draupadi Murmu also participated in the festivities. Here's more.
India celebrated Dussehra, also known as Vijayadashmi, on Thursday. It is one of the most sacred Hindu festivals which celebrates the eternal triumph of good over evil, wisdom over ignorance, and righteousness over immortality. Deeply rooted in spirituality, the festival honors Lord Ram's victory over Ravan and marks the culmination of 9-day-long festivity honoring Goddess Durga's triumph over Mahishasur. President Draupadi Murmu participated in Vijayadashmi festivities, shooting a ceremonial bow and arrow and witnessing the Ravan Dahan at Madhav Das Park in New Delhi. President said that Operation Sindoor is victory over evil like terrorism, protecting the humanity.
इस पावन पर्व के उद्देश्य से सबको हार्दिक बधाई देती हूँ। ये पर्व बुराई पर अच्छाई की विजय का पर्व है, अहंकार पर विनम्रता की विजय का पर्व है, घृणा पर प्रेम की विजय का पर्व है। अच्छाई की विजय होने से मानवता फलती फूलती है। जब आतंकवाद का दानव मानवता पर प्रहार करता है तो उसका दमन करना अनिवार्य हो जाता है। भारतीय सेना द्वारा किया गया ऑपरेशन सिंदूर आतंकवाद के रावण पर मानवता की विजय का प्रतीक है। इसके लिए हम भारत माता की रक्षा में तैनात सभी सेनानियों को हम नमन करते हैं।
The 7th-day Kullu International Dussehra Festival began with the Rath Yatra of Lord Sri Raghunath Ji. On the 7th day, this festival of faith and folk culture will conclude with the symbolic burning of Lanka and the killing of Ravan. In the southern part of country, Mysore Dussehra, Karnataka's famed 10-day Nada Habba combines royal legacy, myth and culture with palace illumination, Jambu Savari or elephant processions and temple rituals. Various tabloids were also showcased during the celebrations. Beyond its cultural and religious relevance, Dussehra also carries profound astrological significance, as it is considered one of the most auspicious times of the year to begin new endeavors, strengthen spiritual practices, and invite divine blessings for prosperity. Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
And with the sound of drums, the swirl of colours and hearts full of devotion, the country bids farewell to Goddess Durga. From fasting and prayers to vibrant rituals like Sindoor Khela, Navratri reminds us of the power of faith, community and renewal. As the lights dim on this year's celebrations, the spirit of joy, strength and togetherness carries on. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.